and welcome to the year we started a podcast. It's a podcast born phoenix-like from the ashes, the poor ashes of last year's podcast. We are now ready to kick back. I am your co-host, Jeff.
And I'm your other co-host, Nick.
And this is our podcast. We're a couple of friends that are half a continent apart that want to come together and talk about some of the things that are fun and interesting to us. Nicholas, here's the thing. Look, we've been doing this thing for over half a year now. We've come up with the things that we think are fun and interesting. And
nothing left that's fun and interesting. We're just going to go into sad, right?
Yeah, that is our new transition. That's our new MO. Like, we're going to move into the sad and depressing. Or the depressing and uninteresting. I feel like
Let's do it.
Yeah, no, that's not it at all. Or I don't know, maybe that is. We'll hear from our listeners if that's where they want us to go. No, Nick, here's the deal. We have done our best, and perhaps to varying degrees of success. I feel like we've had some good episodes and some ones that are not the best ones. But you know, it's been okay. But Nick, I love hearing ideas from our listeners. We've gotten a few that we've used on the show. We've gotten a few where we've actually brought our guests onto the show a couple times. But a thing that I would love us to do more is I would love us to get listener suggested topics and things to talk about in our email inbox. And honestly, it's a little bit selfish, Nick, if I'm being honest. Like, I can only Google so many things that are fun and interesting. I want the listeners of this podcast, if you are interested, to be able to feel like you can contribute and you can drive the discussions of all the crazy and ridiculous things that we talk about.
Well, the other thing is, I mean, like, yes, there's like definitely an element of like, you know, sometimes not every week do I have like some things burning inside of me to talk about.
Or any week.
Well, I usually do.
Hey, Nick, how many topics are you doing this week, Nick?
Look, like I said, but I want to be thinking about things that are outside of my normal purview, right?
Exactly.
Like, it's that's what I think is fun about this conversation setting is that sometimes you come to me and you're like, Nick, what do you think about birds? And I'm like, I don't freaking know, man. And I will never let you lay down. So, like, you know, but then I learned something cool about birds because I didn't ever think about birds. Now I know that they freaking are crazy and can sleep while flying or half sleep while flying, which is insane. And I wouldn't have known that if I hadn't been outside of my comfort zone and listening to someone else's thoughts on what are fun and interesting. And so if you have cool, fun, and interesting ideas, I am freaking ready to dive in with you guys.
And Nick, where can they send those fun and interesting ideas?
TywasApp@gmail.com.
And what's Tywasap for some potentially new listeners?
TYWSAP@gmail.com.
Good job, Nick. Okay, now that I've strung you through that,
thanks, Tab.
Okay, here's where I'm going with this, Nick. Now that you've so kindly asked our listeners to do that and given the email address as well, I want you to lead by example. I want you, and you know, I'll do you the favor of editing out any potential pauses. Okay, so here's the thing. We both listen to different podcasts. Many of them are accepting of listener questions. And some of them that you don't even listen to, which I'm okay with also. Like we've mentioned Dear Hank and John and stuff like that. Like it doesn't have to be a particular podcast that you're directing this toward, but Nick, I would like you to come up with a question that you would like to send to a podcast, and I will send it to the podcast on your behalf, and we'll just see where it goes. But I feel like it's only fair if we're asking our listeners to come up with things to talk about that you be willing to do the same.
Jeff,
I mean,
okay, so like the podcasts that I listened to recently that are coming to my mind. I mean, like, one is a jokey advice show, and then the rest of them are like basketball podcasts or like podcasts about like current events. Jeff, I don't know what to ask. Like,
that's fine.
You know,
the world is your oyster, Nick. It's not like it's not like it's going to show up on the show.
All right. I got it down.
Okay.
We listened to a comedy podcast, comedy advice show podcast, and I'm going to ask him, what do you do when your co-host puts you on the spot and asks you to figure out a freaking question that emails him off the top of your dome? Off the top of my dome, Jeffrey. Jesus.
Okay, so
I'm saying I don't think that the podcasts I listen to are like the kind of thing that
Other than that one, right? The joke comedy one is actually a good one for that purpose. But the other ones that I listen to, I don't think it really helps for me to like email Zach Lowe and be like, "Hey man, what do you think of the Nets Bucks game? It was good, right?"
Oh my gosh.
I don't think that's a conducive medium to like question and answers from the fans.
So, next topic, Nick. Second of three here for me. If you find anything you can contribute in the meantime, feel free to interrupt. Okay, so Nick, when you were growing up, did you have any pets that were outside of the norm of like cats and dogs and such?
No, my parents didn't think those were good ideas.
Yeah, they're not.
I am assuming here that you had some of these pets.
I did have some pets. Had some like chickens growing up. I had some geese growing up. We lived in Kansas on the country. It was a weird time.
Nice.
So, and honestly, kind of a funny goose story. When I first met my wife, we met each other very early on. She came to our house back in. I'm so terrible at actually trying to like give dates and stuff. Whatever. Like when we were very first dating, late in high school, she came to our house and we had geese at the time, and one of the geese attacked her. And it was like from then on always a whole deal like to get from her car to the house, because it turns out if you like show like yourself being scared from a goose, they'll flip and remember that crap and like they'll capitalize on it. Like they are jerks, freaking geese.
Oh, freaking geese. No, that's really funny. That's very interesting.
Yeah, very interesting.
I didn't have any. Jen's had many, and some of them sound interesting too. Yeah, her grandparents were like next door to her, and like so like her parents' home was on like their grandparents' like familial lot, and so the grandparents had farms too. So they had like cows and chickens and stuff that they mostly did not slaughter, thankfully for small child Jen. But it sounds like it would be super fun. I would love to have had like a cow or a pig. And also my sister's best friend has a pet pig because of some reason that is beyond me, that like just this year, and it is the funniest thing ever. And I get videos of this pet pig, and tell me why we don't just have pet pigs as family members, Jeff. I need that in my life.
Well, I'm not so sure.
You're not sure we do? Okay, well, just from if you only look at pictures of it, Jeff, then you'd be pretty sure.
It's a slippery slope, and let me tell you why. Okay, so I do IT stuff for a living. Yeah, mm-hmm. I hope that you've paid attention to anything we've ever talked about.
For real, yeah.
Yeah, so I inherited a lot of that from my father, who has also done IT stuff for his entire life. And I think we talked about it. Oh man, it had to have been like episode 7 or 8, like way long ago. My dad built the house that they live in currently back, 25, 30 years ago. And I shouldn't just say my dad, my parents, like my mom is certainly a big part of that too. It is wild to think of that as a thing that you could do while also having a career. Like I barely feel like I have enough time to, spend 20 minutes exercising in the morning, let alone build a house throughout the process of a year or two. So that doesn't seem like a thing that should be possible, but apparently is. But anyways, so I have a bent toward technology. My dad has a bent toward technology that I've inherited. Growing up, we had miscellaneous livestock, I guess you could say, mostly of the poultry variety. We had chicken and geese and whatever else. Why did we have geese, Nick? Why did we have geese?
I don't know. I don't even know what geese give you. Do you get eggs from geese? I don't know.
We sure as heck did not eat the eggs. I need to follow. Like, why did we have geese?
Really, all this is asking is like, Dad, did you have a weird geese? Like, you were just like really into geese? Like, is that
like? But why? Honestly, I'm kind of questioning a little bit of my childhood right now. But. Okay, where are we going with this? Technology and livestock. I obviously, I'm 32 years old. I moved out a little bit ago. All of my younger siblings have also moved out. I'm the oldest of 3, and my parents are finding things to do to fill their time. They have our 2 have our two kids as grandchildren to spend a little bit of that time, but my dad is a person, again, who built a house while working a full-time job and having a family, certainly isn't going to completely fill their time with only having a couple kids to deal with. They have chickens now, and he built like this chicken...
Just real quick, presumably these chickens are not actually for the eggs. They're just like the geese. They're just for fun.
No, these ones are for the eggs, I think. I'm not exactly sure. I haven't asked explicitly, are these for the eggs? It is definitely... like, okay, so the reason is for the eggs, but the actual reason is for something to do. But because the reason why I say that,
Fair.
he has built like a chicken condo for these stupid chickens.
Condo?
Like, it is... like, I would be lucky to be able to fall back, like have this as my fallback for where I live. If I get kicked out from my wife, I'd like to go live in.
What the heck?
It's like an automatically closing door, and the most interesting part of it, like it's a really big thing. It has like all these like fenced in things, and like they're very safe from all the potential predators. We live in Kansas. There's lots of coyotes and stuff like that. So it actually is like you can't just let the chickens run free. Like they would,
No, totally
they would be chicken nuggets in like 2 seconds for some coyotes or something. So they have their own little fenced in area, and they have their little bedtime area. What is most interesting about it, my dad, as an IT tinker person has rigged up a chicken cam where you can log into YouTube, probably right now, if I'm being honest, and you can watch the live stream of the chickens at any given point. Which was very surprising
I've
to
heard
see.
that this is a thing, right? Like I've heard that people do this kind of thing. I think.
Is it a thing? Really? Is it
I
a
think
thing?
so.
I thought this was my insane parent.
Maybe
this is really
not.
a
Maybe I'm
thing.
thinking of zoos. I might be thinking of zoos having cameras on their things just so... I don't know. Ignore me. I don't know anything, Jeff. I don't know anything about chickens.
I'm going to YouTube right now, and I'm typing in chicken cam.
Chicken cam?
Live now. Okay, there is a live now. Okay, well, apparently it's a freaking thing. Oh my gosh. This is my dad's one of these.
I love it.
Oh my gosh, there's so many. What is going on?
Wait, can I just say that I really hope that your dad makes it really big on YouTube, but like doesn't really care about YouTube. He just has a chicken cam. I just hope that he has a really interesting... But like, hold on. Do these other chicken cams have chicken condos?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at them. They're freaking nice.
Damn. All right, well...
Okay.
Your dad's niche may have just fallen through. Continue. Sorry.
The top one on YouTube right now that 40 people are watching. Why are 40 people watching? Okay, there's...
Make it 41. I found it.
There's... Yeah, congratulations, number 41. No, it's like a picture in picture in picture. There's like 3 angles, and one of us moving around. I don't know. But like, why are there three angles of these chickens on YouTube?
That's a good question. I don't have an answer, and I don't have an answer when all of them are just sleeping. They're sleeping. I'm over it. I'm over it. I've moved on. Bye, Jeff.
Did you read the bottom message?
No, I didn't. What was the bottom message?
You can feed them treats.
You can feed the treats.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, I thought my dad was insane. Apparently, we just live in an insane world.
I love it. I'm a big fan. So they have a chicken. They have a chicken condo, or they have a chicken cam. I am a big fan.
Okay, so the reason why I share this story,
yes,
aside from now being extremely questioning of reality, I was in a large meeting in person for the first time in over a year and 3 months. We were very spread out, but in person nonetheless, and
everyone was watching the chicken cam, or.
Yeah, everyone was watching the chicken cam.
I'm sorry, I'm the worst.
And no, it was like a group of our leadership. We were going around and just sharing a little bit about ourselves because, to be quite honest, like there's 20 of us, let's say, and probably honestly like 6 or 7 of us are different than when we went into the pandemic. So like a lot of us really haven't had the opportunity to connect in person before. So it was like kind of one of those things where you go around the circle and share a little bit about yourself and blah, 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 like what you do. So what the directive was actually was to share something that nobody really knows about you. Nick, I have shared literally like nothing about this stupid podcast that we talk about, or that we talk about, that we produce on a weekly basis.
It's just a podcast we talk about. We don't actually do anything here, do we?
No, I haven't published any of these. But should I publish any of them?
I made a Twitter account for you, damn it. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. So here's what's going through my mind. I could mention, it's just like, it's a weird thing with work. I could mention though that I have a podcast, and I was going to be very specific about like, I have a podcast. I'm not going to share I'm not going to share what the podcast name is though, so you guys will never find it. And then before it got to me, thank goodness, I thought about the fact like I have a very unique name, Nick. Yeah. And like if you type my name followed by podcast, like you're going to find it. Like it's like the first thing that pops up. So I didn't share that. I shared some other dumb story. And then when I went back and I was like curious about that, like how big of a worry was that? I Googled just my name without podcast. I wanted to see like, am I like, are people just going to start figuring this stuff out? And so I Googled my name, Jeff Schesser, again, a very unique name. And I wanted to see how far down I had to scroll before I got to our podcast. Yeah. And Nick, I had to scroll through multiple chicken cam videos before I got to our stupid podcast.
Jeff, I love it. I love it. I am a big fan.
So my stupid dad filming his stupid chickens has better SEO than our freaking podcast has.
Oh my God. I freaking love it, Jeff. I really, really do.
Like, can you verify this for our listeners? Can you Google my name?
Yeah. Let's do this.
Jeff Schesser. Google it. You scroll down. You can see both of our stupid pictures on the Googler.
Okay, I got the LinkedIn's, I got the LinkedIn's, I got the
before you even get to the bottom.
Jeff Schesser. Ooh, Jeff Schesser live stream.
Live stream. You click on that. It's freaking chicken cam. Like, what the frick? 27 weeks of posting this stupid podcast.
I am a big fan. You've been outdone by your dad in a moment through a chicken cam, Jeff.
So, Nick, have you caught on to the thing that gets randomly tossed out there on all of the things about NFT? Does that mean things to you?
I know what NFTs are loosely. I have mostly rolled my eyes at them and tried not to pay attention to them, but I am ready to find out. I know that they are digital artwork things that you can sell original first editions of or whatever the heck, right? Am I way off base here? Am I?
No, you're definitely on the right path. I also, when I first found out about them, I thought it was one of the most ridiculous things I'd ever heard of, because like artwork is a thing that you have in your house or you have in a museum. Why, like, that's not real. Like, why are you doing what you're doing? That's ridiculous.
Yep.
Is that kind of the general place that you would consider yourself at right now?
Yeah, basically. Like, I just don't understand why you would pay for it. Well, okay, remember how we talked about how you could get like a Gucci like kite for like $5,000 in one of the very first videos? I do understand that people will pay a lot for luxury, for brand status, to say that they did, whatever. I understand that there is a value to like, hey, I'm the one who got the thing. I got it. And there's also like a supporting of an artist, right? Theoretically, and like you could resell it. It could appreciate in value, right? Like, I don't know. But I that's about as far as I've ever thought about it.
Okay. So my opinions on this have changed pretty dramatically over the past, like, I don't know, couple months.
Cool. Change my view.
So here's the thing. When I first heard about it, I was aware of it from a standpoint of like, it felt very much like cryptocurrency, in the thing where like, if you wanted to throw money at it, you could like turn it into, tenfold returns, because it's just like a thing that random things just explode and like is a very profitable deal. Like, it felt like this weird thing that was not sustainable, not a real deal, but it was like a fad that was something that people were making a lot of money off of. And I very much agreed with the sentiment that, like, it is ridiculous. This is just digital art why the flip are any like why would anybody want to pay for something that is literally just something that you could take a screenshot of or film yourself off the like there's so many ways to just steal this. Like why would you possibly give the flying flip of actually being the person who owned it? Like what? Like why? I didn't understand. And to some extent, I still don't understand, but I understand a little bit more. And let me explain why. So, Nick, let's go back. I think this is a bigger discussion about assets and how we consider assets. Have you spied on any of my show notes at all for this?
I think I think I accidentally clicked it earlier, but I did not spy.
Okay.
No, I didn't do anything.
So back in the day, how did we like consume music? Like we listened to it live, or we bought vinyls or cassettes or CDs. And then over time that switched to stuff like Napster, where we would steal music off, that and rip it to CDs or whatever. Right. But nowadays, like if you buy an album, very likely it's going to be digital. And that has happened back since the iTunes store, back in the iPod days, like that. True. And that was a big shift from owning the actual physical thing to just owning the rights to a thing. So that has changed a lot over time. And I point back to music because I think that is really the first big shift in this sort of attitude toward assets. Like we don't today so much care about actually owning the thing. Like we don't care. I mean, not to say that like people don't enjoy collecting records on vinyl, for example. No, of course. Like that's still a thing.
Yeah.
But like if you want to listen to music, the most important thing is that you have the ability to stream it on whatever device it is that you want to listen to it on. Like at the end of the day, that's how it works now. We're not super worried about, being able to pop it into a CD player and be able to play it no matter what. And, I worked at Blockbuster back in the day, Nick. I'm not sure you young folk if you remember what that is, but it was a place
I loved Blockbuster. You and I don't talk about it forever, but I yeah.
But no, I worked at Blockbuster back when VHS was still a thing that was kind of being phased out. It really was interesting to watch the shift from people coming in to like rent games and rent movies and even rent flipping VHSs and rent VHS players. Like that was a thing that we had, which is just so wild. And now I've bought like, I don't know, 20 different movies for my kid on Google Play and other things and watch things on Netflix. Like the thought of actually going into a place to buy a physical thing to show my kid a movie is like, it is beyond foreign. Yet I literally only 15 years ago, let's say, like that was the only option available. Like that was the only thing. And now it's crazy. I mean, I don't know, Nick, when's the last time that you bought a DVD?
Like 2010 probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I have completely bought many movies on like Google Play for like, an airplane flight or whatever, or just like, hey, I need to be somewhere. I need to watch this, or I want to watch this video really bad or whatever, and yeah.
Like, genuinely, do you think you will ever buy a physical movie ever again? Like,
I mean, I could see why I might, but probably not.
Like, what would it take? Like, what would it take for you?
So the real thing is, like, I don't really care about this, and I don't really watch movies, but like, I could buy a video because it was, or I would buy a movie if, usually your streaming quality is just not as good, right? Like, so if I buy a digital version of a copy or of a movie, then the stream quality wouldn't be as good. So if I really cared about how a movie looked and I really wanted to be able to watch it, then sure, maybe.
I give that the most questionable levels of acceptance, because
or purchasing, I guess, like a season on television. I find it very annoying that you certain TV shows, you like look it up and it's like, oh, it's only on Google Play and it's $3 an episode and there's 23 episodes in a season or some crap like that. Maybe. That's a maybe. That's a very big. Like I'm completely with you. It's probably not very likely. Honestly, the odds are not high.
I legitimately think that I may have bought my final physical medium for movies or TV shows. Whenever it would be fun to look back and see what it was. I think I legitimately think it may have been like Despicable Me back in like 2012. Because my wife really loved the Minions and I did it as like a funny thing once.
I like it.
So yeah, I think we may be 9 years post on buying things. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy, but
let's reset to NFTs because I think you're right. I think you're completely right. I think that like physical media for television and movies is like basically just freaking. It's not explicitly dead, but it's on its way. It's not doing great.
I think it's effectively dead, especially in the long term. Maybe not for the generations older than us, but for the generations younger than us, I think that is a concept that is ludicrous. Like I don't think anybody that is, 18 years old today is ever going to buy a physical. I mean, obviously I'm painting with a broad brush here, but I don't think anybody's going to buy anything that's physical for a movie. Like that's not how they consume media. Anyways, okay. I would take a step away from that because, like, I think that's music and that's movies and such. I feel like that's an example, but I, as a person in tech, have been very exposed to blockchain as a concept. It's a very buzzwordy thing. I'm very averse to to buzzwordy type stuff.
Yeah, fair.
And it always felt to me like blockchain as a concept was akin to how people referred to the internet back when people didn't really know what the internet was going to do. And they just, like, everybody was like, oh, the internet's going to be big, but we have no way to describe how it's going to be big. And for the longest time, I've understood at a very technical level how blockchain works. But we have digital currency, and that has obviously been a big thing. And
right.
But no, I think for the longest time we've heard about blockchain and not known exactly why it is that is a thing that matters. I mean, it's a distributed ledger. It's something that requires less trust on the system, or less trust on the individual, and enables trust through the system itself. And being able to do that in a digital world, it's a very interesting concept. It has lots of potential, but I don't think anybody really understood exactly how that sort of thing would be used for the longest time.
Right.
And I think we're starting to realize what that is now. And maybe this is a dumb hot take, or maybe it's not a hot take at all. I'm not sure. But I think that our fascination as a society with NFT right now, with being obsessed with digital artwork and the ownership of digital artwork, is really just the precipice of a thing that has been happening for a long time. We've seen it with movies. We've seen it with music. Honestly, Nick, I mean, when's the last time you've bought a physical video game?
That is actually something I do. That's
frick. Okay.
Yeah.
But like I personally have not bought a physical video game despite having bought many video games in a very, very long time. I bought the Zelda game that came with the Switch. So I brought Breath of the Wild back whenever it first released. That is the last physical video game I think that I've bought.
I've had the Switch since it came out, and I got Breath of the Wild with it, and I've gotten like so to your point, majority of the video games I get are digital still, but I think I have like 7 or 8 Switch games, and same story on PlayStation. I've probably gotten 7 or 8 Switch PlayStation games. I mean, that's probably even high. In the last however many years since the Switch came out, when did the Switch come out? 4 years ago, something like that.
So I want to know, like,
1 or 2 a year.
What are your feelings on the differences between the two?
Sometimes it can be really annoying to get, and sometimes I can get a better deal, and that's literally the distinguishing factor for me. I don't mind having a small thing where I keep my games. With that in mind, there used to be better deals on games in person from Best Buy and GameStop. I don't know if that's still a thing because I haven't bought a physical game at all during the pandemic. And I haven't even cared to look or anything, and I haven't really gotten a game
recently at all.
Do you feel less about the games that you've bought digitally?
When they're digital? No,
Yeah.
not at all. Not at all.
Do you feel like they're less valuable or anything like that?
No.
So
Do you think there's a distinction here in the medium of artwork as like just strictly like say a painting, right, or whatever? Because that's where it kind of like loses its luster to me. Is the value of a video game is to be able to experience the gameplay, and go through the narrative and whatever else, right? And you're going to do that on a screen anyways. I don't think that I think of paintings as a thing that I want to experience through the medium of a screen. And I think that's like the biggest real distinction to me. Am I off base or?
But okay, why?
Because it's less authentic feeling in person, right? Or am I off base? Am I crazy?
I think that is what we tell ourselves. I
Okay.
don't actually think that is entirely true. Because, I mean, first off, the things that people are selling are digital art. Like, they're not paintings. They are digital.
There's a failure on my part in terms of education on the topic, because I didn't even know that.
Yeah, so they are that's not. I'm painting with a broad brush here, but by and large, the things that you're going to be hearing about are things that were, created in, I don't know, not Photoshop, but Photoshop type stuff. Like it's not
Right.
a thing that exists physically.
Okay.
It is truly a digital thing. But that's not entirely true either. Like there are things that are like tokenized versions of a physical object that people can quote unquote own. And here's why I ask about that. I personally, when I first heard about this, I thought it was ridiculous. Like, because like the other thing aside from art is people doing this with trading cards, digital trading cards. And I've played digital, trading card games before, like where you would buy packs of things and unlock it, like Hearthstone or whatever. That felt very different because like you're not trading things. It's just like, honestly, it's kind of a play to win game mechanic that I kind of find disgusting, and we could probably talk about.
That's
what
I don't want to derail it with that, but that is exactly my thing. When you said that, I was like, yeah, but that's a scam. That's a scam.
Yeah. and oh man, I know how long of a distraction that conversation would be. We can't go there.
We can't.
0 out of 10 disapprove. I hate that so much. But no, it's not like we were doing that to collect to trade. It was just doing that to be able to have a better chance at winning, have a better deck or whatever.
Right.
And this really is different in the sense of like it is very similar of how you would trade. I mean, okay, ostensibly it is very similar to how you would trade physical things. Now it is very weird right now because it is very new, and so things that should not be trading for tens of thousands of dollars are. So like, asterisk with that, but it is not, it's not that sort of thing where you're trying to pay to win. It's just a weird, economic side effect of the system that it is, at least in my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong, but, the thing to me that I find interesting is you and me and everybody older than us is so held up by the fact that we are so used to value being tied up in physical objects.
Sure.
And
Fair.
I think that we have started to shift our opinions on that, like using music or games that we buy or movies that we pay access to. Like, I think all of our attitudes are shifting to that, to not being so strong of an opinion. I don't think that we understand that from the perspective of people that are like my kids' age. And here's why I say that. One, because there's smarter people than me that say that sort of thing. Like we put so much value in things that we can tangibly tie physically to value, but value is changing to be, especially in our more digital world, to be more experience-based and less physical-based.
That's a really good point.
My son, so we had my brother-in-law over and we were doing some VR stuff. He has a nice VR setup, and my son had the the pleasure of doing some VR things, and he was in a place that was like this really scenic outdoor place that looked like it was from Colorado, like a nice cabin in Colorado with toys and stuff. And he had a really fun time trying to reach for all these things, and like you could genuinely tell that he really, really loved being there.
Right.
And he asked, like, "Is this a real place?" After he was done, and we're like, "Well, not really." He's like, "Well, I want to go back in." Like it was like he like his option was in his mind was, is this a real place? If so, I want to go there in person. If not, I want to go back in VR and I want to go do that thing. Okay. And I think that the bent toward experience is going to be so stronger in the younger generation, where you can just go do things, that I don't think there's going to be as much of a drive to go visit, the Louvre and like go see the Mona Lisa. I don't even actually know if that's where that is, but I don't think there's going to be so much of a desire to go travel to the place. If you can go see the place and literally see it in as much detail as you could in person, without having to go at a much more affordable price.
Yeah.
To see the exact same thing. Yes, you're not physically looking at it, but I don't know how much you've played around with VR stuff, but if it's high quality stuff, like there is no difference as far as what you can see and not see. Yes, you are not there actually, but I don't think that is going to matter as much to our younger generation. I really don't.
Yeah.
I think that is kind of a thing that we've built in as a thing that's important. I think it's going to be not the case. I genuinely don't think that's going to be the case for my kid.
Totally. Yeah, that's a very interesting perspective and example. I had not considered at all. And I think, so you touched on a point here that is not like the end all by it, but there is a big point to just the quality of it being really high, right? Like we're going to have effects that are really, really good, and it's going to affect it a lot too, because, if you were trying to tell me that I could have this awesome experience, say that I was an art collector or someone who was very interested in like classical art, right? Mm-hmm. I might be able to just brush away seeing a picture of it, but it's a lot harder when the picture is freaking lifelike and in a VR camera and or on a giant screen, right? Like all of those things make it closer to the real experience, where you can see it up close and you can see all the fine details and yada yada. And I don't think that I'm not one of those people who's like amazed by graphics, generally speaking, but I could see how it would really affect the realism of something like digital art, or like you said, like just the experience of, freaking going somewhere versus not going somewhere.
I think it was interesting to hear my son's perspective of not knowing if that was a real place or not, because it wasn't meant to be like this beautiful place that people thought was real. I mean, it was meant to be beautiful and fun,
right?
But it was indistinguishable to him as a 4-year-old, of course, obviously a 4-year-old, but indistinguishable to him as a place that was outside of reality. And he had so much fun, and like it was fun seeing him almost trip over stuff, and like while he had this little headset on.
Yeah.
But I do feel like a more mature version of that technology. I mean, if this is where we are, where it's so young, and we see, like, we've seen how it's grown in our own lifetime. I mean, literally didn't exist like when you and I were in high school, and now it's like a thing that you can, buy off Amazon. And I would imagine a generation that grows up with that as a possibility, especially if it's more mature, if it is something that continues to grow in the way that it has, I think that's going to have really dramatic effects on people's opinions on the importance of the physical world. Like, it seems weird to say, but I do feel
especially the physical world in terms of having value in a product, right? Or in a commodity, or whatever the heck you want to call it, right? Like, it's... Sorry, continue.
Okay, let's say you want to go see the Colosseum in Rome, and you're a 20-year-old. does it make more sense to see it in just the same exact high definition, be able to walk around and look at every single detail
Or
in VR, or spend thousands of dollars to go look at it in person and see the exact same thing? I don't know that the real life value prop is there for a lot of people. And I feel like businesses will realize that's a thing. Like I think that is so valuable. That experience is so good. That's why people pay, thousands of dollars to go do it now.
Yeah.
If you can monetize that as a business, I don't think there's any way that like somebody doesn't pick up on that in our lifetime, in probably the next 10, 15 years, honestly. Like I think it is such a, like, having played around with VR stuff, having played around with some of the Microsoft HoloLens stuff, like it is getting to be so good. Like, it's getting to be so good that my son is having fun with it, and he's 4 years old and he has no idea how to do any of that. Like, he's having a blast. I don't know. Like, I think seeing some of the shift toward the NFT things where we value digital assets as much as we do physical things, it seems like we're moving toward a world in which we understand a little bit better what blockchain and like what digital assets and like getting access to digital assets mean. Because like I think that's exactly how that works. Is like there will be a company, let's say, that owns rights to the Coliseum through blockchain technology of some sort, whatever gets adopted, and that you pay access to that. Whoop, hit my mic. That you pay access to that
pay like
person.
a ticket or whatever, right?
Yeah, like it's just it's like the exact same version of it in the physical world where, people pay access to have access to go look at the thing. It's just now digital, and it's now open to, billions of more people than would have been otherwise. So it's just so profitable. It seems unlikely that it doesn't happen. Maybe I'm crazy. I don't. We'll look at this back, here.
Yeah.
In 10 years when we rename our podcast for the 10th time.
I don't think you're crazy at all. So one, I don't think you're crazy. And I'm sorry if I came off as a skeptic in all this. I definitely am not sure. Like, you've definitely shifted my thinking on it a ton, and it is a super interesting question in its own way. So I feel like there's something that I can't put my finger on about NFTs though, that like, is there something with the medium of artwork that is like, that would preclude it from being able to actually generate this much value? Like, I know that like we can just Google freaking tons of images and see them that way. That seems like a cheap cop out of like, okay, well, you'd be like quote unquote pirating, right? Or you'd be getting like, I don't know. I have a really hard time like putting my finger on it. And I'm probably the wrong kind of person to talk on that. But is there something about NFTs that outside of the experience of like the ability to experience a place that is otherwise very inaccessible, very price price exclusive? There's a term I'm looking for, but I can't remember it. But where most people are going to be priced out of. Is there something about NFTs that or I have a feeling am I missing something here, or should I just be like on board?
So NFTs are weird in the sense that everything before them has had a physical manifestation equivalent to it. So right. Like music always had, you could go buy the CD of it or whatever, or movies, you could go buy the DVD. This is stuff that's being created that has no physical counterpart to it. And that's weird for us, for sure.
Yeah, it is.
And it feels weird because and maybe this gets a little bit too futuristic, but I do think there's a world in which, our children, maybe us too, who knows, but we'll have like a digital space where that is less meaningful. Like we'll have people come visit in a digital space. I literally feel like I'm sounding like a crazy person, and maybe I'm a crazy person, but I feel like our digital spaces will matter more in the future.
Tell me you couldn't have a VR freaking MySpace, dude. Like
like exactly. Like it really is kind of that. Well, I don't know. Anyways, like I do feel like people could have a virtual reality hangout that is something that people do regularly. In that sense, it makes more sense for stuff that is digital specific. If they have like this NFT to, display this particular piece of artwork in their virtual space.
Yeah. I mean, maybe my thing here is still just that I think of this kind of art as like very much a luxury item, and we're talking about numbers that are like too high. And I know that you said that this is like, it's a new space, and that's probably explaining a lot of that. But maybe that's just what it is. I think of art like that, and I think of somebody who an executive's living room or entryway or whatever, and think of them showing off to a guest party or a party, and I'm struggling to find that kind of luxury value proposition. And I mean, that's not really a value proposition, right? But that's the luxury reasoning behind why you'd be willing to give thousands of dollars to something. And maybe that's just what all my like internal hang up is. But that's not like a condemnation on the idea of selling art through digital medium instead of a physical one.
No, I mean, you're not wrong, because at the same time, I have also, as a person that works in finance, like I have thoughts on digital currency, and it's broken right now. I'm not sure if you've noticed, but it's also just ridiculous. But the concept is solid.
Right.
How its valuation right now is a little bit on the crazy side, but like how it will impact our just civilization as a whole, like is interesting. But I 100% agree. The disproportionate valuation is definitely a thing that I perhaps would feel a little bit less strongly about. I think
Totally.
I think we're starting to see what Bitcoin does in the digital asset space. I think that's what this is going to start to turn into. In the same way that really didn't really know what the internet was going to be when it started to turn into this international communication, just ridiculous thing that it is now.
I don't want to lose the tone because it's really cool hearing you in a space that you're very knowledgeable of and have like a new thought for me that you've kind of pushed me outside of my original thinking here. But have you seen the interview from, I can't remember who it is right now, but there was some NFL player on a talk show, a very popular talk show in 1994. They were talking about what the internet is. Have you seen this?
I may have seen, I don't know. I've seen lots of the early takes of the internet, though.
It is so funny. I can't handle it. This guy is like, what? We're going to send mail on the computer? What are you, stupid? What are you, dumb? That doesn't make sense. How are you going to get to send it to anybody anywhere, you dummy? That doesn't even make sense. Didn't age great, but no, okay. So on the more serious thing, you're probably, that makes a lot of sense. And it's,
well, to be clear, I'm not sure that I'm actually right about any of that, but it is a thing that I think about a lot recently.
No, that's totally fair, and you've definitely changed my perspective on it a ton. To discuss, if I sounded like a skeptic, that's me going through my process of like, hey man, I had a flavor in my mouth and I had to get it out of there. So, but yeah, like. It's interesting because you're totally right, and there's also something to. I don't think that just because the valuation of certain blockchains is off doesn't mean that blockchain doesn't work as a concept. So I think your point there is very, very valid. So yeah, I don't know.
Who knows, Nick? And to be completely honest, I'm happy to be completely wrong as well.
I mean, yeah, sure.
It's just how these things go. That's the important part of speculation is you might speculate wrong. But anyways, Nick, we are about to go record our Patreon-only episode after our podcast for the first time ever.
Dang.
If you're ever going to hop on board, now's the time to do it. I'm sure this will be absolutely great. But yeah, we're going to go record our episode of the year we started another podcast. It's basically the same as what we just did, except for more off the cuff, if that is even possible.
I also want to just say real quick that I was drinking when you said that, I could be wrong. Who knows? Or I don't remember exactly what you said. Damn it! I was gonna say I'm never wrong, but now it's not as funny. I don't even remember what you said.
You really killed the delivery here, Nick.
I crushed it. Shouldn't have taken a drink. I took a drink and it I lost the moment. And
should we put this on the TikTok or the Snapchat or what?
What's up?
Huh? Exactly. All right. Well, Nick, thank you for potting with me.
You're welcome. Thank you for listening. This has been the year we started a podcast.